Hello everyone, it's Nightlight9, and in this video it's going to be the first of a new series that I've come up with. I'm going to call it the Character Spotlight series. And what I want to do with these videos is make a series of videos that takes each character in Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis one by one, and I go through, basically break down the characters, what they're good at, what their main roles are, how good they are in general, and how I would personally build them. And I wanted to start with this lovely lady right here, Aerith, because I believe she is the MVP, the best player or character currently in this game. And how I'm going to break this down is basically two sections. First, I'm going to talk about why Aerith is so great, and then secondly, I'm going to discuss how to build her. Now, the reason that she's good has to do primarily with game mechanics. And when you start this game, you'll notice, or you get into more difficult content, you'll notice that you obviously have the ability to either do manual, semi, or auto. And if you even semi, whoever you're not selected on, whichever one of your three party members are not being automatically or controlled directly by you, they just automatically cast their spells according to how the AI thinks, would work best. However, the issue with this is that the game prioritizes buffs and debuffs, which is a problem for one thing, because if you have any sort of buff or debuff, the game will just cast that almost automatically as soon as it gets a chance to, as long as you aren't instantly almost dead or something like that. And because of that, the AI does not care about timing. And this is a problem because there are several buffs that only last about 10 seconds, maybe 12 seconds, which is not the timing window that you typically need those buffs to be in. Because if it's a debuff, for example, you want to coordinate that with the ATB gauge of the rest of your party so that you can do the maximum amount of damage in that time frame that you have. If it's a buff, you usually want to cast it right before an enemy is about to do one of their big attacks. And there's nothing worse than wasting an ATB gauge by casting one of those buffs only to have it run out 2 or 3 seconds before the enemy does that. So, and as far as healing goes, it seems that the AI doesn't prioritize casting a heal until a character is a little bit under or right around 50% of their HP. That's obviously problematic because in the most difficult content in this game, and we're talking about, the summon fights, right? If you're trying to beat very hard Ifrit or very hard Shiva, the way difficult content is handled in these games is they're marathon fights. They go on for, 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, by the time you actually get it all completed. Or if you're talking about crisis dungeons, or just the most recent event with the Mako reactor, you need to keep your party alive. That is one of the most important things. Yes, DPS is obviously, the other main ingredient, but if you're dying, you're not putting out any damage. And so, because of this, you need to keep your units topped up. A lot of the most difficult content is difficult because of a large damage move done by the enemies. Or, in a lot of cases, it's an AoE move that hits everybody for quite a bit of damage. And so, because of these game mechanics, the way to get through the most difficult content in this game is to run the game on semi when you're in combat and to control one character. And that character that always gets controlled for me, and I'm sure a lot of you, is Aerith, or whoever your healer is. It's the number one priority because you need to be able to spam the heal. Let's say your characters have 5,000 HP and they take a 1,500 hit. You need to get them back up to full before they take another massive hit. Because if you let them get too low, it gets to a point where you just cannot keep up with the heals, and eventually they start going down and they die. So keeping the heals topped up so that they can take the big shots and stay alive is crucial, which is why you have to control your healer. And when it comes to healing, Aerith is, in my opinion, the best healer in the game. I think the only other person that can contend with her is Matt. Those are the only two that I'm aware of that have the ability to get an AoE heal. If we look at the weapons, Aerith's AoE heal comes in the form of Fairy Tail, and Matt's would come in the form of Prime Number. And, if we look at Fairy Tail, for example, it allows the casting of Curaga A. That is a magical heal that hits all allies, which is amazing. It's so good that you don't even need to bring Cura or a secondary heal, because that heal is good enough to get you through and keep everybody topped up. And almost always, when you're doing single target heals, it feels like somebody else is already low before you even have halfway enough ATB to get to the next heal. So this is crucial. It really is. And personally, I don't have Prime Number up to 5-star. And if you notice, at 4, it's only a single ally, but it does go up to all allies. And I would say it's as good of a healing weapon as the Fairy Tail. But for this, we are looking at Aerith. And so, having the AoE heal makes her, it's just priceless, right? You cannot easily replace that. Moving on, I also think she's amazing because she's already been featured on 2 banners, which, anytime you're getting featured more often, you're having more weapons come up, which also means that you're going to have more flexibility. There's just a lot of different weapons that have come up that I think, help make her flexible. So the second part of this video now, I want to explain how I personally build Aerith. And the way that I build her is as a healer, all the way. And the reason for that is because I think that that is what she's meant for, and because really you only need 2 DPSers on your team, and a lot of times maybe even just 1. So knowing that you really don't need 3 DPSers on a team. In fact, it's really just inefficient because of the fact that you have such a high chance of dying. And so when I look at the way that I built Aerith, it is purely about making her be able to survive and helping her keep everybody else alive. So the 3 things that I focus on and prioritize in this order are HP, defense, and then healing potency. And you'll see here, my standard main party that I adjust as needed. She has 4,800 HP, 145 magical defense, which it feels like most of the content so far in this game, your party benefits a little bit more from magical defense than physical defense, so I usually prioritize that. And then obviously the 1,300 heal. And I always use Healing Wind. That is a must for me because she is a healer. And going back to kind of the her versus Matt, who would be your ideal dedicated healer for your party, her limit break is what I think truly sets her apart from Matt. Matt is great, and he, the fact that Prime Number had the 3rd materia slot is a buff debuff extension, that's great. But having a second AoE heal that can be cast without depleting her ATB gauge, it's just amazing. And then it applies regen for 9 seconds on top of all of that, which is really great after you cast a heal. And then there's, the smaller enemies or whoever are still kind of needling you with smaller attacks. That 9-second regen will continue to heal them and actually usually negate about all of that. And so for that reason, I think she is the healer in this game. And her materia also can flex according to your needs. So typically I run 1 type of sigil break depending on, the content that I'm going to be facing. Often it does end up being the circle sigil break for me, but I will adjust that accordingly. And then for a second skill, I usually run 1 sort of materia that's, an elemental damage. Again, can be adjusted according to what you need. And then for the third slot, that is just kind of a flex slot, right? You can put another elemental weakness materia in, or something that whatever enemies you're going to be facing are weak to help her sneak in more damage. You can put in a buff or a debuff, whatever the content needs, she can fill that role with that last spot. And the reason is because she does not, and I can't stress this enough, with Fairy Tail, if you have Curaga, she does not need Cura. I have not yet needed to. In fact, in the very beginning, I ran Cura on her along with Curaga, and ultimately it just actually slowed me down and made things harder, because the moment that I would cast Cura, well, then somebody else was already taking damage, and it was just better to just continually AoE heal the whole party rather than to try to focus on only one character at a time. Now, she does have, alternately, she can be built for magic damage. My vote is quite against that, and I'm going to show you why, right? Because she doesn't, although she can be built that way, and although most of her weapons have higher magic attack than physical attack, she's not the person for magic attack. There are plenty of other characters who are better suited to be filling that role. And with the, finite resources that we have as far as, getting your materias, right? Every day you're making all these materias, hoping that they have decent stats, and then you got to level them up. Usually I find myself with, only a few good types of materia in each element, or, however. And so I don't think you want to waste those resources putting them on somebody who would be better in a different role. And to illustrate this point, in this, I have simply built Aerith according to everything I have that raises her magic attack. This is the absolute highest that I can get her magic attack, and that's 1862, which it's not bad. That's a fine stat, but it's really not amazing. I had to sacrifice kind of a lot of other things. But look at that heal. Her heal, and that just was kind of automatically coming with doing the magic attack, but I've sacrificed some magic defense from what I showed you previously, and I've sacrificed about 1,000 HP just to get her there. And if we look at somebody else, for example, I'm going to show you my Sephiroth, and I didn't even configure him specially for this. This is just what I've been using for co-op missions. 2571. He has 700 more magic attack because he's built for that. And I don't just mean what I put on him. Everything that he gets, it's geared towards him being a magic attacker. And you really do want more specialty type units because you get 3 of them. It's not like you typically when you're doing solo content, you don't go in with 1 unit. And so you don't need somebody to be, that well-rounded. You really need them to fill a very specific role. And so for that reason, I think that Aerith is best done as just a dedicated healer. And I think it's the most necessary thing. You can sub out different DPSs and they will get the job done. If you keep everybody alive long enough, you can chip away any enemy and clear content that is, tens of thousands of combat power recommendation higher than what you currently are. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over with Aerith. I guess kind of as a bonus here, I will just discuss briefly her new banner since it just came out, and whether or not I will be pulling for this. So the Prism Rod, it's a wind-focused weapon. It gives Raging Sphere, which does wind magic damage to a single enemy. It also has the ability to boost wind potency and HP. And I do think these slots are actually quite good. The magic attack boost, the heal boost, very good, and the sigil boost. And like I said, I personally end up using Circle Sigil Break on her the most. So that is quite good. However, at the end of the day, I'm not using her, even if this is a great, wind weapon, I'm not using her for that. And so I won't be trying to get this. I won't be spending my crystals to try to roll for or draw for this weapon. The Prism Dress as well is pretty good. because this is very similar to what we've seen with Cloud and Sephiroth, where you get the 35% bonus to that ability that's tied in with the weapon. So 35% wind ability damage. I mean, she would be the strongest wind user if you got, both of these items. However, this is just not the role that I want for her, and so I'll be waiting for something different. If you thought this video was helpful, I appreciate a like. If you thought that I missed something, or there was other questions or anything that I did not address in this video, please feel free to drop a comment. And if you'd like to see more content like this from me, then please subscribe to my channel. Thanks.